You can't not laugh at the countdown. Morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm all right. You?
Yeah, not bad. As I said just before, it's me and the dog today, so you might get a few
Woof.
barks in the background because we've got the builders here sorting a patio out,
Woof, woof.
and they
If,
helpfully rang my doorbell very early this morning to let me know they were here, as if
oh,
their
nice.
van's turning up and them all getting out and getting their kids out
And
wasn't
swearing and
wasn't
kettle
enough of a
boiling.
notification. Yeah, we thought we'd let the whole neighbourhood know by waking the dog up.
All right, mate, we're here. No shit, really. Thanks.
Thanks for that. I'd left everything open so you could just turn up and walk in without talking to me.
I left your sign on the side of the house saying "Builders this way."
Yeah, the two massive bags of gravel in the drive were a bit of a giveaway as to which house it is. But I'm more pleased they're still there. I thought overnight someone might have come in and half-inched them.
Or you might find a load of rubbish tipped in it.
Yeah. I didn't actually check. It could have been completely replaced by someone else.
A child's bike and a sink.
All the classic. Anyhow, let's crack on with today's exciting topic.
And what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about data and data.
No, really? What a stupid idea.
Thinking about data differently. So going back to almost like our core principle of the podcast was to kind of demystify data.
We had a core principle, didn't we?
We did have a thought before that first one, didn't we? Of what these
podcasts... It disappeared after 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then, 5 minutes of banal chat, then 15 minutes on data, and then we finished with 10 minutes of complete randomness. That was the structure we agreed, I think.
It's a guide. It works. It's fine.
It works.
It's the concept of every successful podcast, isn't it, surely?
Absolutely. So I think we're in the 7.4 million views currently.
Are we?
Yeah. That's how to misrepresent data.
That's successful. I'm still waiting for that phone call from Stephen Bartlett to go on his.
Well, it can only be a matter of time, to be honest. Our podcast is on the internet, and there must be millions of people on the internet. Therefore, our potential audience, Richard, is enormous.
Is enormous. See, I could go on this. I could go on the Diary of a CEO quite happily, like that other concept, that other one the other day with that Gary Stevenson and Dan Priestley, because I've got a lot of time for both those guys. They say a lot of interesting things between them, but God, that was managed badly. Yeah. He was not controlling that conversation at all. It was like, no, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I could do that. I could go on and argue the hell and just talk over someone.
I think the problem was...
Good night, say, every time. It's the way to get a successful podcast, is just to keep talking over somebody.
He was too busy mixing
all the time, every time.
I'm making a joke, shut up. He was mixing his fuel under the desk, he was too busy to listen.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But yeah, one or two people on LinkedIn have commented on that podcast, if you've noticed. Seems to be the one to get views this week.
Well, this is it. So maybe we should just do that. Approach that, adopt that.
Should we just do a version of that? Me versus you. And the dog can adjudicate it because he did put about as much effort in as Stephen did, so we'll be fine.
I think we've just fucked up our chances of getting any.
Yeah.
Slagging off one of the most successful podcasts on the internet, but never mind.
And I prefer corned beef to fuel, so we're all good.
I prefer real food to fuel.
Yeah. Oops. Corn is real. How dare you? Yeah. Anyway, so.
That's another few million gone.
Yeah, that's lost half the audience. There we go. Yeah, data efficiency. So,
anyhow,
yeah, I did a webinar on this a while ago. Actually, I was thinking about it yesterday because it's come up again in some of the work I'm doing. I've been thinking about council tax, and I know the life I lead outside of coaching is incredible. Where I get to think about things like council tax.
I'm stunned you can keep a level head, honestly.
I know. My other half loves it when I go in the lounge and tell her about work for the day. She's like, is this about bloody council? Yeah. She's not even from Yorkshire. But yeah, just thinking about how it hasn't actually changed since it was almost invented. It's a database. It's kind of reactive. You're a debtor to us. You owe us money. And you think about, obviously, the modern platforms, kind of the Ubers, the Airbnbs, the Netflixes, of how you're like part of it. It's proactive. They notify you, they update you, you transact through their platform. And I've worked it through, and I was just like, there's a much better way of doing it. But whether there's enough kind of momentum for people to go, actually, yeah, we do need a better way of doing this. But it got me thinking back to the presentations I did, and how, when people think about something like Uber, and when they sit and go, okay, that's a taxi firm, essentially, it's taken the place of taxis. What actually is it that it's doing? It's providing you an app, basically, that connects you as a buyer to someone who works for Uber as a seller. The app itself, all it's doing is actually transferring data from one to the other. So it's, I'm here, I want to go there, I need someone to take me there. Goes through the app to someone sitting in an Uber who says, I'll accept that job, I will take you there, it will cost you this much, and this is where I currently am, and you can follow me on a map. So again, the data coming back from the seller to you updates you, keeps you informed, and you understand it. But I don't necessarily think everyone sees what it actually.
App data. Uber.
I knew the dog would do that. He's such an idiot. Come here. We don't need to be warned of everyone in the neighbourhood, mate. Especially as it's the same guy who was here yesterday that he was playing with. Ridiculous as a dog.
It shows like a goldfish.
Honestly. Yeah, don't get a cockapoo ever. The mental. Yeah, and people don't think of it actually as a data transfer and information going back and forth. They kind of see it as the service. And I think the Netflix kind of blockbuster argument, I know lots of people have views on that. But again, if you think about even the very early days, and what was ours was called Love Film or something, wasn't it? Where they moved to sending you a DVD in the post.
I think that was something very different.
It was something like that in the early days.
Films.
You got a DVD and they posted it to you, and you could return at any point or something. But it was.
I agree. I'm being silly.
Yeah, but you don't think of a DVD again necessarily as being data. You're thinking of they've sent me a film. And then moving from DVDs to kind of Netflix and online, again, what's happening? There's a transaction between me as someone buying, saying I want to watch a movie or a film or a TV show. There's a platform there that takes that data, finds what I want or closely linked or related to, and obviously they've got sellers at the other end of those TV shows, programs, and it sits as that platform. But again, it's the efficiency of that data transfer that has allowed them to kind of reshape the way that we consume television or anything like that. And it's always just been interesting to me that when I have these conversations, it's almost like people forget that the whole concept of it was actually, and the reason you're kind of happy with it, kept up to date, is because all they've done really is created a platform that just allows that transfer of data between buyer and seller to almost happen seamlessly, and you to get what you want. And even if you have to wait for it, you're being told exactly when it's coming, how long you have to wait, and everything else. So the Netflix versus Blockbuster, you could argue that in the old days, obviously, Friday night was a bit like, well, let's get in the car, drive to our nearest Blockbuster, then we'll walk around the store and hope they've still got copies of the film you wanted to watch.
I love films.
Yeah, generally they haven't. And then you end up in some other random section with, you used to get some random
film section.
Like, no, not that section, no. The 19th of movie genre when I was a child, Richard.
Okay, sorry.
And then you'd obviously go back, watch it, then you'd have to rewind it. And then the first thing the next morning, you have to get up and take it back and drop it through the thing, which is fine because the end result is you've still seen a movie sort of thing. But actually, it's quite an inefficient process. You don't know at every step. You don't know they've got the video. You don't know what else there is, what else you're going to watch and everything else. Whereas the Netflix model is that made more efficient, but through a data transfer rather than anything else.
The same as Amazon, though, isn't it? It's the same as Amazon disrupted the shopping section, and you do online shopping. So even supermarkets, you buy online for grocery shopping. It's anything. And I think, to take your point, it's like even anything, even sending text messages is an exchange of information, exchange of data. Emails is an exchange of information and data that replaces physically walking somewhere to have a conversation or to replacing post, although you still get a shitload of pointless chuffing letters through the door every bloody day. But it's the same concept, isn't it? If you think about it, you get a leaflet through the door, flyer, you get an email spam through your email. It's the same thing. It's just been replaced with digital footprint, which is data transfer. It's a data exchange, data transfer. So the same process.
You and I are in two different places now. When I'm sitting in the same studio recording podcast, I'm the other side of the wall.
Imagine that.
I was allowed to bring my own clock to the place. Yeah, so it's almost like all of those things, though, don't classify as data. I think a lot of the data conversations that we seem to have are around, or I see on LinkedIn and stuff, is generally around kind of BI and how you use data to tell you insights and how to give you insights into your company, understand what you're doing. And I think that's absolutely fine. That is what you should be doing. But I do think there's a missing piece of
what is data?
What is data, yeah, and how we sell our goods and how we transact and how we do that. It's actually that efficient transfer between the two that ultimately is what we want.
As luck would have it, my post today was about something similar, about the sheer scale of data that's now produced on a daily basis, and it was something like 463 billion gigabytes or something stupid was the quote. And if you think about it, you've got Slack, emails, notes, docs, clicks, zooms, prompts, processes, reports, all this stuff, everything that anybody's doing in any way, shape or form. So even you, even if you're going, I'm really going to the shop to buy some food and I'm going to come back again. You, with your phone in your pocket, are creating a trail of data. You go into that shop, you're being captured on CCTV, you're leaving a data trail. You making payment, blip, electronic exchange. You physically walking out the shop, you've captured what you've done in the shop, what you've purchased, your loyalty card, the stock level in the store.
Yeah.
All the financial transaction of their revenue and stuff in the shop. You then walking back, you're creating data points as you're walking around. It's just extraordinary. And as you say, it's that the message and the acceptance that this is actually happening. And a lot of companies, people like Google, Meta, all these people, they are capturing, and Amazon, capturing huge amounts of information on people. If they're doing that and they're using it to improve their business, to improve their process, to monetize it, let's be honest, to sell it on, let's be really frank about what they're doing, why can't you as a business do exactly the same? What's stopping you? And is it because there's that disconnect that was said before about going, even a startup, a micro business, everything that you are doing is creating a data trail of some description. Everything, literally everything.
And people don't think about it like that, do they? It's like you said, I've been to the shop, I haven't created any data, and you're like, actually, you've probably created about 500 data points. From your phone being pinged, from your card being used, from your club card, what you've bought, all that information.
Other supermarkets are available when we are open to all sponsorships.
Yep.
Apart from Diary of a CEO and Huel.
But I use Tesco most, so if they could come through, that'd be great. It's the local one. But everything then, and even the fact that you've then bought that data is then obviously used by Tesco or whoever to...
And their suppliers.
Yeah.
And their distribution companies.
And it's the actual world of data is enormous. But we kind of talk about this tiny little proportion of it from like...
Well, I think this is the thing, that you talk about using it as such a tiny fragment of it, okay? But then off that, you've got this whole AI thing. AI is based on data. It's basically fed by data. So if you're perceiving that I only have access to this much data, then why are you even considering AI? Because if you're only using that, you don't use data, you don't produce it, AI is not going to be any good to you, is it? On the flip side, the communication of that piece from the data industry, which we've always said, is terrible. So the perception is, oh, there's loads and loads of data, or I don't know how to use it. There's that whole piece about being able to bring everything together. And it comes down to, okay, pause, think, what are we doing? Where are we capturing it? What are we using it? Where can we access information? How can we use it? Do we need to use it? Yes, no. None of this is a technical conversation. No. None of it. And that's so, but the perception and the communication piece is completely back to front. It's completely screwed. And I think that's where the issue comes in. So another platform comes in, another trend, another buzzword, and people go, great, let's go and do that. Or they go, what the hell's that all about? So they don't bother. You shouldn't be having that conversation without going, okay, I know where we are. I know what we want to do. I know what we're creating. I know what we're using now and what the opportunity is. How do we do that?
Yeah.
And it's true. It's literally gazillion data points being created every single day.
You still get the points, don't you, where someone goes, "Oh, we're going to do a data project," and immediately that becomes a technical thing.
Technical implementation.
They called it a data project, and it's like, this is where I push on the efficiency and keep saying, talk about efficiency, and it's not efficiency of kind of like how well you've done something. I always talk about it as that transfer of data from one to the other. And if you get that bit right, regardless of what you're doing, if you can transfer the data efficiently, you'll be in a much better position than you are currently. And yeah, I just find it's every time we start on something like this or talk to people about this, it's just that whole conversation around, it's back to your point, kind of what is data and how they view it. Data for them is almost the bit that just sits in their software, whether they pull reports from. And actually, as we've said before, there's so much other stuff, but they're not even then thinking about using that data efficiently.
Well, there's a missing gap. You've got people view data as whatever they view data as, rightly or wrongly, accurately or not. But then they view it, then they go straight to report or dashboard. Yeah. There's a gap there. Yeah, you might have a technical solution in place that fills that gap, right? But actually, there's a knowledge or a confidence or an understanding gap that actually goes, that's information. How can we use that information to have better outputs, better insights, rather than just going, we have a system, get the stuff out, put it in a report.
Yeah.
Stop. What are you trying to do in that report? What's the purpose of that report? What are you trying to achieve? Before you look back in, this is why there's just that default, I want financial metrics. And it's like, well, actually, there's a whole stack of other stuff. As we said, a whole stack of stuff that's going on that you're not capturing, potentially. But you're capturing, but you're not using. Sorry.
Not using. But I just think a lot of it still comes down to kind of terminology and thought process even from my perspective of doing courses. They're videos that are recorded, put onto a platform. Anyone in the world can access them. But they're not videos. It's just data that's stored in a file on a system that efficiently someone can go on the internet and they can suddenly take a course in leadership without having to really do anything anymore. It's literally go to a website, click a button, buy it, please, and do the course. But it's just been made so easy in a lot of cases. But I just think people miss the point of thinking of all of this stuff. Even if you'd said, okay, we're going back to analog, you don't look at a book and go, that book's data. But it is. Everything in it is data. And
a Word document's data.
I think the more people can think about
PowerPoint files data.
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't ever think of it like that. But the more people start to switch and go, almost everything we're doing is data, and therefore how can we use it better, more efficiently, more effectively to produce better results? Then you start, I think, to start changing the way you operate and start thinking about the things you're doing.
Yeah, but also view it as information. That don't view it as data.
Yeah.
If you said go and find me, do a research, do some digging around, bring back a report with some information, that's data. Essentially, you're collating stuff that's going to be useful. A system producing process that's doing an operational system that you're doing, or a CRM system that you get information, you get stuff from, you're getting information from it.
Yeah.
Right. You're not getting ones and zeros out of it. Well, obviously, financial system, you won't be getting ones and zeros. But it's ones and zeros. Like it's data that you're taking out. It's an information transfer between the system and yourself. How that is done is through the transfer of data.
Yeah. Just reminded me, actually, I was on a webinar the other day, and they put the matrix screen up, the green kind of ones and zeros, and use that as the analogy of what they were doing and saying, basically, this looks like nothing until you almost turn it into information and understand it. And now the picture's clear and you can see actually what's happening. And it's kind of that approach, I think, that is a little bit kind of head in the sand, isn't it? Of, oh, you've mentioned the word data, therefore that's not me. I don't get that bit. I'll bury my head. That's the technical side. But I mean, we've talked before about even the little thing, driving your car, being told what speed you're doing, how many revs the engine's doing, what temperature the engine is, what frequency the radio's at, all of that stuff. That's all data and information. It's telling you stuff, and you're absorbing it constantly. You do never refer to it as that. You always think of it as something else. And I just think there's a gap where you're thinking about selling your services, delivering it differently, or anything like that. You just need to get your head almost around everything you're doing being, as you said, either data or data to create information, kind of thing. To then use that usefully.
Yeah, it's that acceptance of what data actually is. It's that acceptance of what it is. I don't think it's a knowledge gap necessarily. Maybe it is. It's maybe just an acceptance.
Yeah.
You know that if you're doing something on an app that it's a technical thing, that it's probably transferring stuff backwards and forwards. I mean, most people will grasp the concept of all of this. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. It's not in that. It's just a case of going, well, actually, what does that really mean? It's an acceptance that is data, and not just going, I don't want to think about it. It's not me. It's IT or a technical discipline or something. It's like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're as to use the analogy earlier, you physically go into the shop, a supplier turns up, delivers something. It's information that triggering a capture of information.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you used to do it on a delivery slip that you used to sign and push back, or you used to acknowledge that Dave delivered the stuff at 10:01 and this is what was delivered and this is that. Is that all done electronically now? Whereas before you would capture it, it's the same thing, exactly the same process. And if you're understanding how many deliveries are coming at the end of the week by looking through delivery slips, okay, it's fine, we've had 100 deliveries. Whereas actually, if you go onto a system and go, okay, click, I've got 100 deliveries, okay, fine. It's the same. But you get into that information in a fraction of the time, rather than.
I described blockchain many years ago as almost like, do you remember the old days when you went to the library and every time you took a book out, they stamped the front of it and it said who had taken it out and when they took it out and when they returned it. I was like, think of blockchain almost like that. It's the audit trail of what's happened. Apart from every time it's stamped, it's stored electronically, and it can't be changed or altered. So I know you took that book out on those dates, and there's nothing you can do to change that. That's a record stored against it, and every time that happens, it just goes back. And so much of what we do is obviously digitizing older processes. Like you just said, deliveries used to be delivering a book. You used to write them all down, and then you'd manually have to go through and look at what you've had delivered, how many you've sold. All of that's now automated. You click a button, it does it for you. And again, it's just the whole concept, I think, of thinking slightly differently about how you do stuff or how you visualize stuff. I think is key, and not be put off by things like people start talking about blockchain. And obviously if I posted that on LinkedIn, I would get absolutely melted by blockchain enthusiasts who start telling you about the technical detail and how clever it is and how smart it is and how it does things differently. But if I'm sitting with someone who runs a cafe or something who just wants to understand what's happening, you kind of go, well, this is how it would work for you, and explain it as a library book system. Then that's the conversation you need to be having so they can get their head around the concept. And then how it works technically and how difficult it is behind that, that's a different story. That's something they don't need to know about. You're just trying to have that conversation. I think there's too much of the kind of the technical noise overtaking the sensible conversation that says, actually, I'd need to explain this to you in layman's terms. It might not be 100% technically accurate, for example, but you'll understand the concept of what I'm explaining to you in a straightforward way, and therefore you can then take those ideas. But there's almost this, no, I need to show you how smart and clever I am.
Yeah, and that's always been something we've said, isn't it? It's like that piece is always there. It's like if you go to a technical show or something and you're walking around, you're seeing the output of that, and you're seeing the end point, and there's a solution for everything. But actually, if the acceptance of that is that that's an information transfer between the two, and the process it's explained, which it never is, explained in a way that is understandable, that is in a non-technical way. So it's translating that technical piece. Again, you don't need to worry about all of that, but this is what it does for you, and this is how it does it. Okay, great. I understand that concept. Yeah. And then the acceptance of there's that disconnect in the data world where it's like actually nobody's explaining that piece.
Yeah.
It's still murky. It's still classed as like data. You still got that two reactions to data where it's like someone goes, oh, don't want to know about it, nothing to do with me. That's an IT, isn't it? And therefore someone that goes, oh, data breach, GDPR, I don't want to know, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
And it's that, but it's actually,
it's not. It's not playing on Facebook and Instagram and uploading pictures and stuff.
Or something from Amazon and going, I don't use data.
Yeah. But you can imagine in a way, you can almost, a funny scenario I just thought of was, it was almost like the inventors of Netflix walking into a VC, but explaining all the technical stuff of how it worked, rather than just going, actually, we found a cool way to deliver video to someone's TV at home.
Yeah.
That means they can choose any movie they want at any time and start it asynchronously, kind of across the board, if that's the right word, whenever they feel like it. Watch it, pause it, come back to it, all of that stuff. Whereas almost the conversation, if it carried on in the way it would do now, someone would be going, well, we'll take this packet of data and you just like
digitize it and we upload it and we do it on the servers. Everyone can access it through various different chains of different elements and through threads, and it will be streamed at this rate. And someone's just going, "The fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, and we send it in 15-minute chunks, and every one of those loads, and therefore it loads quicker, and then they back, and you're just like, that's the bit that people don't care about. It's what's the outcome? The outcome is I can sit at home, I can push a button, and that movie that came out 3 weeks ago, I can sit and watch. Like, brilliant. That's what I want to happen.
Even if it's shit.
Even if it is. And I did watch, what did I watch the other night? The Heretic.
Oh, right.
With
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant, yes. He was in it. It was not worth the 2 hours of time that I invested in the movie.
Are you going to send him an invoice for your time?
No, but I don't think he listens to this, so he won't hear me criticize.
Is that somebody else? He's not one of the 7.4 million.
Yeah, it was. It made no sense. I kind of tried. I could see what they were trying to get at, but it's almost
we watched one as well.
It's almost like someone had thought up half a good movie and then couldn't work out how to finish it, and had just come up with a load of crap at the end that made no sense at all.
Huh?
Yeah,
we watched Snowpiercer the other day. If you've seen that advertised,
never even heard of it,
and you're going, what the hell is this? It's got some really strong actors in it, and you're sort of watching it going, what?
Have you, sorry, the builder, Rachel, can get that. Have you, I tell you what, it's fun. We've digressed slightly, but on Prime at the moment, they've got a TV show, and it's 10 comedians in a room for 6 hours.
Oh, I've heard. I want to watch it, yeah.
It's so funny.
Oh, good. We're going to watch that, I think, tonight. I'm going to start. I've been talking about it because I think Bob Mortimer is absolutely hilarious. Personally, I wouldn't last 30 seconds in the room with him. He just made me laughing just by walking in.
Yeah, there is one bit where he does a bit of a magic show, which is hilarious. But there's one bit where he sets someone off laughing, and
I saw the magic show clip. Yeah, I saw that.
Crying with laughter, and he hasn't even really done anything. He's literally just sat and made a face, and it just sparks him on. It's like, I think if I was in there, I'd have lasted about 5 minutes with him.
Oh, it just makes me laugh. I mean, I go back to Vic and Bob and all that, shooting stars and things, but
yeah,
it's just, I don't know, it's just my stupid sense of humor. He just appeals to my stupid sense of humour. Maybe he's one of our 7.4 million.
He should be. I love him. When he's on Would I Lie to You as well.
And you see the other guy, David Mitchell, going, I don't know whether he's telling the truth or not, because it could quite possibly be true.
When he's telling a story, it doesn't matter how outrageous it is, it could still be true.
I remember it's like when he used to do the train guy. Have you seen that one? On those videos. God, it's just so funny. You are, as ever, a rusty ferret.
Yeah. It's almost like, though, he was Vic Reeves's sidekick, wasn't it? He's actually funnier. It should have been the Bob and Vic kind of show rather than Vic and Bob. But yeah, I wish he was a listener.
Maybe he is.
We could just finish the podcast then, mate. That would be it.
Imagine if you came on as a guest, he would talk about nothing about data at all. It would just be hilarious.
He might be very interested in data. You never know.
You never know, do you?
He'll pull a story. I'm going to end in a minute anyway, because the noise that you may have heard in the background was the cement mixer being plugged in. So the window's open and the cement mixer might start any second now.
Nice.
So,
that's going to please your dog no end.
Yeah, hopefully we've inspired some people to think about data differently. You never know. Of the listeners.
One of the 7.4 million.
One in the 7.4 million might just be listening and take action.
If we've made a difference to one person, then it's been a successful day.
Absolutely. I won't wait for them to comment to say it's made a difference. You never know. It might happen. So, mate, I shall speak to you soon. Have a good day.
Ta-ta.